Hi everyone, or welcome back. We've added this HubSpot hacks in between webinar. It's usually every 2 weeks, but because of all the updates that happened last week, we could not go and actually talk about them until around a few hours later. So that's the reason why we've created this, and thanks for joining. The idea is to go through some of the or the important inbound 2023 updates that we saw that it's worth diving into. So I'll go through some of them. There's a huge amount. We'll share this slide deck afterwards. We've actually captured here all of them with information. We'll be able to share that with you guys. But I wanted to touch on a few of these and actually go into information and not only share my screen, but actually show you what it looks like inside the HubSpot portal. I'm sure some of you guys are already working and taking notes and looking at them. So we're talking about, we've got you'll see here, and this is what we'll share with you guys. We've got the prospecting, workspace, lead management process, A/B testing, and this goes all the way. So we put actually, I'll just need to clean one thing up, but this actually goes all the way to QR code scanner. So I'm not going to go through every single one of these. I do want to focus on a few of them, which I think are important. And we'll share this with you guys afterwards that I said. We have here associated hub, the licensing, what's public beta, what isn't public beta. Obviously, this is the information. You can, anyway, you guys should all be going to HubSpot/new. And here you can actually see everything. We've just taken it off. What's been used. And I'm sure all of you have gone through the product updates here. I'm going to put this in. I'll put this in the chat, obviously. I think this is important for anyone to be able to use this. Hang on. There's a new Kaltura system that we're using for the first time. Thank you, Kaltura, for giving this for us so we can actually start using this. It's really great. And I'm going to share this with everyone. 1 second. There we go. So that's number one. Number two, let's dive into it. So I think the biggest change that has happened, besides the different things that we're focusing on, is a prospecting workspace and the lead management process. So I think this is a game changer for you to look at HubSpot in a way that for the first time we can really use it as a proper CRM, where I can actually use it to have my sales process, in the sense that this is great to go. I have this as a sales process. And if you guys, ever want to look at it this way, you should be all having some kind of process where leads are coming in from the inbound or leads are coming from the outbound, and have this design built. But the new world that we're looking at is, how do I manage this process where a lead gets sent from inbound or from outbound to your business development rep or your SDR, your inside sales, or even the process that is managed by the sales rep for himself, where the goal is, in most of your cases, to either set up a free trial, set up a meeting, and get to the stage where after that meeting, the AE or the account manager, whoever is the salesperson, feels comfortable enough to open an opportunity. And then obviously I'm going to go and start living in my deal pipeline. So the deal pipeline until now has been easy because that's been managed really well. I have lots of data. I can hide insights, and we're not going to go into too much information here, but this report is improved as well. But what was missing until now is, how do I manage that first process over here? How do I manage that? And how do I manage that, a couple of times when that might actually have to go through that process once or twice or 3 times? So if you go into sales now, and first of all, so everyone should know, if you go into product updates, I'll be very surprised if most of you don't know this, but if you don't, go to product updates in all of your portals, okay? And then here you'll see what is actually new and live. So this is something that you should be looking, every couple of days to see what's popping up. And 2, you can actually say, okay, I want leads in prospecting workspace. How do I get that? Do I leave the beta, or do I add so we've obviously added betas for everything, and that will allow you to add the beta just for yourself or for your entire team. Okay, so that's the technical side of it. So now this works. Again, I need to be in Sales Hub. I need to have a Sales Hub user. Okay, so this won't work for just a basic CRM. But if I am an SDR and I'm paying for the Sales Hub user, I'll be able to use this functionality. And how does it work? Number one, the prospecting allows me to have a summary of what tasks I'm managing, what overdue tasks, what contacts are running through specific sequences, suggested activities that I should be doing. I'll talk about this thing, which is the lead management, in a second. My schedule, because I've connected to HubSpot, so nothing here is new. I mean, this prospecting in beta has been around for a couple of months already. But if it's new for anyone, it's a game changer in the sense that your SDR and inside sales team should be living here. They don't have to go anywhere else. They can look at their schedule and they can look at the feed, which allows you to actually go in and see what's happening, as I said. The second change, which I think is the biggest one from my perspective when it comes to Sales Hub, is I'm going back to this. I don't have a process to manage this. I don't have a funnel / board process to manage this. Until now we were using lead statuses, and then where would you get stuck is that, how do I manage the lead statuses? Do I use the life cycle stages? What do I use? It's not 100% clear. And what happens if I have to go through this process again? For example, if someone moved to nurture and 6 months later they come in, fill out a form again, how do I go through this process? Because they were stuck on nurture. How do I move them back? And the lead status is not something that actually solved the process, whether it was when I was starting as inbound or starting as outbound. It doesn't make a difference. So the biggest change here is that they've added a new process. You'll see if you go into your portal, you won't see this as a new object per se, as a record type. It is a record type, but it's not you don't have suddenly leads now like in Salesforce. Okay, so it's not a lead. Inside the contact, what is different now is that if I go into any contact, I will suddenly see, let me go back to our portal. If I go into any of the contacts now, I'll suddenly see, once you add it, a new thing here on the right-hand side. Obviously, you need to add it to the view. Once I add it to the view, I can add what's called a new lead pipeline, okay? And the lead pipeline can be customized, but the goal of the pipeline is, for me, in my case, to start a process where I'm actually reaching out to Paige, for example, in order to get a meeting with her, okay? So I could be doing that from here, or I could be doing that from here. So the idea is to say, okay, how do I add people into this lead process? And then how do I manage them? So number one, managing them, you have here, new leads, attempting, connected. So I can go into any of these leads and I can decide that I actually want to add someone to that lead process. So let me just show you, first of all, how to do that. Let me just do with some kind of test lead here so that I won't use proper data. So I decide that Rena Boxer needs to move into our lead process. Why? Because she's working in a company that meets my ISP, and we want to start a process. Or she's the hand raiser and she's filled out a contact us for, or she's gone to the webinar for performing, which for me is an MQL, and that's someone that I actually, in essence, got to this stage and I want to reach out to them. So I'm going to create a sequence to reach out to them. I'm not going to go and show you how to use sequences today because you guys already know, But what I'll do is I want to add her to this process. So I'm going to add her as a hot new lead process because it's important. And then now I have this new process on the right-hand side. So think about it as a new funnel for me to be able to manage the process. In our portal, we've defined that the actual cases that you can use, the actual stages of this process is new, attempting, connected, qualified, and disqualified. My goal as an SDR in this case is to set up a meeting with her. So once I send out an email, automatically, and I'll show you, it will go forward and it will move to attempted. If she answers or I set up a meeting with her, it will move to connected. Then I can decide if I want to qualify, and then I'll show you what you can do once it moves to qualify. But I can also decide to disqualify. So let's say I have a meeting with her, it moves from one stage to the next, and I disqualify. What we have now out of the box as well, and we can customize, is what are the disqualifying reasons? Is it bad timing, budget constraints, not a good fit, not interested, whatever I want. So if I say, okay, bad timing, and then I can actually create a follow-up task. Let me reach out to her in 3 months' time and add a note. Should have budget in December 2023. Okay. Now what happened is that process now is finished. Okay. I've finished that lead process with Rena. It became disqualified, and I'm not going to be reaching out to her. I can decide what to do, but I'm not reaching out to her. But I do have now in my tasks, I should have in 3 months' time a brand new task to reach out to her. Okay. So, and then I carry on working on my next lead. Now, let's just show you how I see that this is really powerful. I can decide here that, and this is the way you guys need to look at it, is that I can use a lead status. I can put this on a nurture and say to my marketing team, in the meantime, until I reach out to her, please nurture her. Okay. So once she nurtures, we can define a new process that said, okay, if she reaches out again or meets a certain score or fills out a specific form, reaches out inside within that process of us nurturing them. In other words, it was great, reached out to her, nothing, but after a month and a half, she actually fills out a contact us form and comes back in. How do I manage that process again? So we can automate that process and actually have a workflow that says that if she does a certain whatever trigger we want to do, then what we can actually go and do is actually create a workflow. And that workflow can trigger a new record. Let me just see if I have it inside my portal. Maybe I don't, and I'll have to show you in the test one. But if I go now, I can say that if anyone meets that criteria or reach it out and they're on, let's say, status or life cycle stage of nurture, and they reach out again, what I'll do now, sorry, wrong button, I will create a new record. And hang on, I don't think I've switched this part on. So let me do it over here. If I have enterprise, I can now, you'll see that suddenly you'll have a new lead-based trigger. So you have workflows here. That's number one. And number two, even if I do a contact one, as I said before, what I can go and do now is I can say, okay, you've met the criteria and you've reached out to us again after we were nurturing you. Great. Now let's go and create a new lead. Enter the new value, hot, starting as new, adding any properties I want, and then we can automate that process. So what will happen is that now that person, okay, will go through that process, and now it will pop up in my prospecting tool 3 months later that when they reach out, I have a new lead. And then I'll go into the lead and I'll be able to see that I have that new lead because they reached out again. Okay. So that is the lead management process, and that's where it's very powerful. Obviously, one of the advantages of this process is that if I go into my leads now, okay, and I look at the ones that are connected, and I think there was another lead that I was supposed to set up. Let me go back to my test lead. 1 second. The other part, which is really powerful, is that when I'm managing this process, okay, so I think this lead doesn't belong to me. That's why I'm not seeing it. It gets assigned to me. Now, if I go back in, I see the lead and we're good to go. So now I'll see the new lead that I need to follow up with. Sorry. Why is this lead not added? Okay. So let's say I need to reach out to Sarah. So what we have here is that I can always view the lead. I can see my last engagement. I can see the process that the next activity. And from here, I can actually do a few things. One is I can put it on a specific sequence. I can reach out to Sales Navigator, okay, connection, email. I can do all of the things that I can do on the contact level. But the goal here, which is very interesting, okay, is that I can actually run all the activities with the goal of me setting up a meeting and then finish that process. So for me, this is something that doesn't exist in any CRM at the moment, unless you create as a custom object in certain teams. But this is, for me, a big difference, and that is focusing on me being able to manage this process and being able to manage these processes of a lead funnel, lead pipeline that goes up and down. That's number one. Number two, we have now also interesting lead funnel reporting, which when you look at your lead journey, okay, so you'll see this has been added as well. And then what's good about it is that you can actually manage this process, how many open leads, the conversion rate. So this is managing, if you think about it, as a lead pipeline. How many of those lead pipelines turn into an associated deal? How many closed one? Who is, managing the most amount of leads from your team? The count of leads, open, in progress, average progress time, conversion rate, and so on and so forth. And you can actually customize this and you can add more information. So that's number one. So I can actually create a report. I can do the reporting on this and so on and so forth. So that's very important. The second thing that I can do, and I'll just go back just to show you. So if you want to customize the stages, I jumped on that. If you go down now, you'll see objects, and under objects, you'll see the new objects, as I said, called leads. Inside leads, you'll be able to create two things. One is you'll be able to, let's go back to the setup in a second. You'll be able to customize the stages that we talked about between not started, in progress, qualified, and unqualified. So here I can add, first of all, more unqualified reasons. Two, I can decide that when it moves to qualified, or I can say that this is, let's say, meeting schedule. That's my qualification or qualified or whatever I decide to do. But I can also say, okay, when the AE qualifies, it automatically creates or required to create a new deal. Or I can say, you know what, my third part here, my goal of the SDR is to actually schedule a meeting. And then the schedule of the meeting is not something that I'm actually going to require opening a deal. So I can customize this. And here is the automation that's out of the box that explains what happens at each stage. Okay? So here you have control over that. Here I have control over what becomes a lead. So I don't have to do it manually. I can decide through the lifecycle stages. We don't have MQLs, we have hand raisers, but we can decide that any qualified nurture or hand raiser, in our case, lead, we want to start a process. So all of these cases, they automatically become a lead. And then you can go in the other direction and decide that if someone is a hand raiser, then In other words, anyone that's gone into this into this life cycle stage will be hand raiser if they've come in. Okay. The other reporting out of the box now, which is new, is, as I said, if you go into sales analytics at the bottom here, it's an easy way to get there. You've got the lead funnel, as I said. You've got lead response time. So I would take a look at all of these, giving you lots of information, how long it's taking. Think of it as any other funnel, and it allows me per rep to go in and get all this information. Obviously, the prospecting activities is new as well. And everything we talked about, I think this is really powerful for the SDR and the SDR team. I can look at the sequences. I can see what's happening per rep, per team, how things are going. I can go and look at the meetings, see how many meetings we've set up, how many calls, and how many tasks. Okay, so if I look at a combination between the prospecting, the lead management process, all of that can be managed really well here. And if you look under the lead funnel, you've also got lead response time, as I showed you, the lead funnel itself. Over time, I think that's really powerful. I've gone through a lot of time to explain this. I know nearly 20 minutes, but I think this is something that's really powerful and can change the way you guys are using HubSpot. The other thing, if you have Salesforce on the other side as your CRM and not HubSpot, this allows you actually to say, well, I can use this prospecting tool now out of the box instead of SalesLoft, Outreach, or any of the others, because this integrates back into Salesforce, okay? So I can actually trigger this in process. So if I'm doing Outreach or SalesLoft, I'm doing it in an external system. But if I have Marketing Hub connected to Salesforce, then I need a third system anyway. So this is an option for you guys to say, okay, let's carry on working now and use HubSpot sales enabling tools, the prospecting one that I'm talking about, because what happens now is that if I go into the connector between HubSpot and Salesforce, HubSpot actually has connected. Let me see if we still have a connection here. HubSpot has a new features that have come in through here, okay? And one of them is that they're triggering in the other direction. So the activities that come through now, actually, you can't really see it on my side, but I'll send out more details. I don't want to dive into it. But one of the changes that they have now is, we'll talk about sequences in a second, the lead form qualification. Let me just, Salesforce Activity Sync. So it allows you to synchronize the Salesforce activities into HubSpot for a unified experience. This allows you to analyze your sales-related activities, and then you can centralize Salesforce and Hub activities in a unified analytics, okay? So that is really powerful, and then you can actually use that going back in the other direction. Okay, so we've talked about prospecting. Again, we'll share this with everyone. Prospecting workflows, lead management process. A few other things that have been on the, is that we're allowing A/B testing in sequences. So that's something now that's out of the box, and you can actually A/B test, which is something that was missing. So you can actually go and look. The second thing that is, there's a sequence step analytics. So now I have analytics, more analytics on the actual sequence side. So if I go into sequences, I have here new actions and I have analyze. Okay, so I'll be able to analyze and schedule. This is what you guys already know. Okay, but if I go into, again, if I go into reporting, I'll be able to look at the different sequences and actually go in and see the performance of the sequences over time, and being able to see what's happening, the sequence efficiency, and also be able to see with the different sequences which ones are working well and the different steps. Okay, so if I go back here, you can take, you'll be able to get granular insights into each of the email sequences and the different steps that they're going through. So that is around sequencing, okay? And there's sequence outcome reporting, which is for Sales Hub for enterprise. So that's why I need to show you on the test account. If I go into sequences and into analyze, so there's new reporting there that can come through. Hang on 1 second. I'll show you in the reporting. So as I said, I have lead funnel, but I also have more information around the sequences, and you'll be able to have sequences reporting in the different reports. So if you go into sales and services, into contacts, here, you'll be able to create reports, custom reports, and actually go in and take a look at all the custom reports around sequences as well. So another thing to do is actually go in here, and you'll see that their new reports are coming through around sequences. So that is, we talked about the prospecting, we talked about sequences. The other thing that we're allowed to do now in Pro and Enterprise, which was missing, is to book a meeting for someone else, which I think is really powerful. The funnel that we talked about before, let's say I'm an inside salesperson, I couldn't actually set up a meeting for my AE. So now I can actually go and do that, and I can also do a round robin functionality. So for that, I just go in now, and I can actually go and set up a meeting for someone else. So, and then I can actually go into that contact. Let me find a contact here that I want to set up for Perry, for example, and change that around so that I set up a meeting directly in the meeting tool. So this we've always allowed to do, but here, if you see, you can book a handoff meeting this way for someone else. Okay, so I don't have it connected because we don't have enterprise on this account, but if you have sales or service started to book the meeting on behalf, I'll be able to upgrade this, and then I can actually, sorry, that doesn't make sense. Let me go back to Penguin. We do have that actually set up because I have enterprise. Sorry. So here I should be able to actually set up a meeting for Perry here, for example. Let me go back to the test that I was looking at. So if I want to set up a meeting here, I should be able to create that meeting. I don't know why it's not giving this to me. Okay, I'll look at it afterwards. But I do have a sales professional. I should be able to change this from myself to someone else. Okay, so that's what we're talking about. Lead form qualification. So for a long time, when we looked at forms, and we'll go into any form here, in the back end, you'll see something new came up, where there could be criteria that you say, okay, until today, when someone filled out a form, in the options, I only had two options. The two options were display a thank you message or redirect to another page. So what changed now is if I click on redirect to a meeting schedule page, okay, I can decide if I need to redirect everyone to the same schedule page, and then my default will be something else, or I want to have conditions. So for example, here you can see my default, if they don't meet the conditions, will either be where we had before, my scheduling page, my thank you page, or my thank you message. Or I can decide that based on the form, obviously I need to have the information in the form, if that person has left the message that contains RevOps, in our case, then please direct it to Daniela. Okay, so what will happen is that if anyone fills out this form, if they put inside the message in a word RevOps, then instead of just saying thank you for submitting the form, it will actually redirect to Daniela's meeting link, and they can automatically set up a meeting link there. So let me just show you what it looks like. Obviously, this will be on a specific page, but it will be something like this. Obviously, this is a test. Interested in a RevOps solution. Clicks, I agree, submit. Thanks for filling the form. Made it out of RevOps, or message contains. Sorry. Remember to use contains and not equals, because then it's just looking for the word RevOps. Let's see if that, to try that again. Oh, I love it when demos work. Okay, so now it goes to Daniela. They can set up a meeting with Daniela for 30 minutes, and you can have as many per form. So this is great for a contact form, demo form, so on and so forth. Okay, so we've gone through the lead form qualification process. I think that's clear. Lead reporting, I showed you guys before. Prospect activity reporting, I showed you before, which gives you, as I said, a 360 view of all your sales team's activities. HubSpot embed Salesforce. So this is, you can integrate HubSpot and Salesforce to enhance your customer relationship. This will, you'll see in the connector that obviously it will make life easier, because I can actually now enroll and book meetings directly from Salesforce. So this is following what I talked about before. In order to be able to use HubSpot as your sales enablement tool instead of Outreach or Groove or any of the others that you might be using in Salesforce, you want to use one system today. So now I need to be in Salesforce to be able to interact with that system, so I can actually interact between the two through there. And obviously the activity sync we talked about, that's why it's important. Forecasting. So this is for Pro and Enterprise. The use case is to evaluate and improve the accuracy of your sales forecasts. So if I go back to our account and go into sales forecasting. So you'll see forecast users here. Okay. So I need to be able to use this, but this will allow me to start having a forecast seat. Hang on, this is not going to work unless I show you it on ours. So let me see if this works on my side. I go into forecasting. Okay, so I haven't got forecast permissions, but if you go in here, you'll be able to use the forecasting tool. Set up a forecasting tool. You need to have forecast permissions. You can view the forecasting tool, and then you'll be able to see here that I can actually play around with the different forecasting tools, the legacy and the new one. Okay. So I'm not going to go through this all today, but the idea is that you'll be able to go in and play around with this. And if you go online, you'll be able to see all this information. But this has become something that's more robust and gives you access to your sales forecast and more accuracy. AI forecasting. So this, to tell you the truth, I haven't actually got into, because it's in a private beta and I need to get access to it. So this is something that's on my checklist to get from HubSpot. But if you go into any of the new tools, you can find it online, what it looks like. But it actually helps with the forecasting, because it starts giving you messages, and you can switch on the AI forecasting, and then it already starts doing it itself. So, and then you can compare between your forecasting and the AI forecasting and see which one is better. So that's something that you can take a look at. Forecasting across all pipelines, that's something that is great now. You can go in and when I look at UC, so I can actually go in and look at all pipelines and take this over time, which is something that didn't exist before. I was stuck on one. We only have all pipelines, but now you can see if I click on all pipelines, it puts everything together. So that's a very interesting change that which helped a lot, especially when you have customers, for example, that have 3 or 4 different lines of business, and they need to look at that all together to look at the overall picture for the entire business and not just one pipeline. Deal inspection view. So this is gaining actionable insights on the pipeline, on the health, informed decision making, and so on and so forth. So this is important. Now, if you go into the deals, you'll see in your portal that you have the option to hide the insights, or you have the option now to see, the deal amounts, closed one, average deal, and so on and so forth. So obviously, when I combine this and I combine the actual sales analytics that been existing for a while, I can look at sales outcomes, and I can actually look at sales velocity, which is something new that's also coming through now, an average time to sell. So take a look at this. It's very interesting. Deal velocity, less than one. All these things are out of the box, and if you just play around with them, you'll see that you'll start getting insights before you have to go and create any brand new information. Okay. By the way, there's time spent in deal stage. All of this already exists. It's worth looking at this. I'm looking, I think, if I look at all data, I'll have more information. And I can look at any pipeline and so on and so forth. So that's another thing that I think is really powerful. So you'll be able to go in and look at that. Deal funnel reporting. So if you have Enterprise and Pro, I can also go into the deal funnel reporting. So again, go into Sales Analytics, and you'll see here at the bottom, you have the lead, deals created, but the forecasting, so you have a deal funnel, okay, which existed, but I have the different reporting. It's more robust now. And I also have the deal journey, which is new, okay. By the way, if you have Enterprise, if I'm already here, then the customer journey reports works not only with contacts, but also works with deals. So I can actually build a flow now around a deal itself. So I can look at the specific pipelines, for example, look at the specific pipelines and build a customer journey. So how many people actually went through the pipeline properly, appointment scheduled, qualified to buy, presentation scheduled, decision maker, contact sent, and so on and so forth. And then I run the report and see how many of those people, this is a test account, I don't think we're going to see anything, but this will allow me to actually see the deals and then how many people are dropping off and jumping between stages, because I can actually show drop off as well. So this is really powerful if you have this in Enterprise. Trying to get through everything, so I'm jumping, I apologize. Let's jump for this. Deal journey analytics, I just showed you that's exactly what I showed you a second ago. Deal tags. Okay, so this is really cool. If I go into deals and I build a pipeline, so just so when you're customizing and using your deals, just make sure you can do a few things. Maybe I'm going through something that's not new. One is you set up your pipeline, your probability. I suggest anyway, it's not new, but if you're not using it, make sure you start editing access. So when I move from one stage to the other, I can decide what fields need to pop up and which of the fields not only need to pop up when I move from one stage to the other, but which of them are actually, so this is not field that's relevant, but let's say I need the contact type and the currency and Google CDI or expected kickoff date, and I can decide that these two are required. So that's something that anyway I would use and update. The second thing is the automation, which is really powerful, which we talked about last week, is when I get to a certain stage, I can create any kind of workflow. If I get to closed one, I can create a new workflow that opens a new process on a different workflow, like we discussed last week. And then I have deal tags. So what are these deal tags? I can customize the board and card view, but I can customize deal tags. So here I can add a new tag, like overdue, urgent, add contact. So this is really powerful. For example, you might have your team opening a deal by mistake, but you want to force them to make sure that there's a contact role. So you can say add contact, and you can say that when the number of associated contacts is less or empty, that's the description, okay? Make sure that they add a contact. So you'll see here in the back end that there's actually a filter that looks for the number of associated contacts is less than one or empty. In other words, they've opened a deal, but they didn't associate any contact. So that means that what will happen is that all it will do is it will pop up. So if I create a deal now, and I can use any rule. I can use if the contact owner is X, then do Y. So let's just create a test deal quickly here. 1 second. Test hourly 10,000, and too many things I have to set up here. US, what's missing? Okay, so here I should be, well, okay, this is not a good example. In our case, we've actually forced it that I need to add up a contact. So in this case, if I'd done that, it's not allowing me to set it up this way. But if I didn't have this, then what would happen is I would have a tag popping up, and then that tag I can use. It will just say, okay, add contact. Or I've seen people saying, okay, great guys, what we need is I have my STR. How do I see them? I have an issue here that you can only have 4 of these. So let's use the tag. You can only, so let me just explain what I'm saying. If I go here and customize this pipeline, okay. Sorry, I'll go back here. So if you go and you want to customize the deal tags, I want to customize the board. So the board allows me to only add up to 4. Okay, so that's what I can add. So any missing information, you can use the tags, urgency, and then you can use the rules in the back end to give you more information. So that's a way around adding more information on the deal card to be able to actually say, okay, so this is what it looks like. Now I have the extra tags, and so on and so forth. Okay, so that's, I think, also helps us a lot. Advanced playbook recommendations. If you go into Pro Enterprise and you look into playbooks today, you'll see what's been added is if I go into sales, I go into playbooks and create a new playbook, you've got discovery, call, qualification, and then you've got service, and you've got customer, onboarding playbook. So there's lots of new playbooks that have popped up, and then you can start adding these. Hang on, I'm assuming that there are questions coming in maybe. No. Okay. So that's also powerful. You can get information. The feature enables precise content delivery at the right time, deliver target enablement content. So the playbook now has custom properties. So I can use those custom properties for the playbook, which is really good. Playbook snippets and rich text format. So if you go into any playbook now, you'll see that I have more information. As I said, when I create the playbook, I have personalization. I can use tokens, which didn't exist before. I can insert question, embed, HubSpot content. This is also brand new. You see, I already have a documents or snippets, sequences. So this has really become much more robust, and now I can actually go in and just choose whichever snippets I want to add. Automatically it comes in, and it really will save me a lot of time because I might have a template or put in another playbook. So breakup email is already in here. So when they click in, they see this. So this is really powerful. You can kind of do all kinds of stuff here. Okay. Playbook on custom object records. That's also great now, is that I can actually go and make sure that this playbook works on a custom object. So I have a custom object called shipment. So if I go in here, I'll be able to have the filter and trigger based on the shipment as well. Okay, so the shipment property is HubSpot team and so on and so forth. So you can use that across the board as well. Coaching playlists. So this you should see or already bumped in. If you guys are using calls and you actually want to say, okay, this was a great call and I want to reuse it. If you go down again to sales, to coaching playlists, you can find recordings. You just click on find recordings. I don't think we have any recordings here. Okay, we do. I can decide that this recording is relevant to be used again and relevant for something that we actually want to use, not only to share with the team, but to say, okay, this is a call that I need to now. Let me go back again. I actually want to add this call for the team, and I want this to actually be a call that not only I have a transcript, but that the team can actually build out a playlist. So if you go back, you'll see I have playlists here, and now I can actually build a playlist and train the team. Okay, so I have a follow-up playlist or my private playlist, and you'll be able to build folders and create playlists. Okay, and then you'll be able to say, okay, guys, for this specific use case, just go to this recording because Perry does it really well, and he has one. So I don't have to. I can use something that anyway we use and go through those coaching calls. Okay, we've got another 10 minutes. Sequences on mobiles. So this is really powerful if you're using the mobile app now. One of the, I know the questions that a lot of the inside sales and team was working is like, hang on, when someone called me or something, I need to be able to stop and start the sequence. I'm not in front of my computer. What do I do? So now you just go into your mobile app and you can actually stop and start the sequence and manage that process. So that's something that just take and play around with, but anyone using the mobile app, I think is really important. Content assistant on mobile, that's a public beta. Anyone can use that. You'll be able to use that. It helps you compose emails and leverage the AI. So I'll show you what it looks like on our email. I think everyone is already using this, and if not, you can play around with it. If I want to just create a new email, then obviously I have lots of information now and things that I can actually go and use. So if I click here to the bottom, let me hide this. I can do personalization, but I can also go in here and start getting information. Help me write a subject line. Okay. Add a smart rule, personalize, and so on and so forth. So you'll see that a lot of this now is coming through where it allows me to actually go in and start writing content and switching that on and allowing you to use the AI. So that across the board now can be used, obviously, when I'm using emails or I'm creating subject lines and so on and so forth. So if I go into the settings, preview text, obviously smart rules I can use, but I'll be able to use any of those new AI capabilities. I think we'll do another session just on this, so you only can run through that. And last but not least, the QR code scanner. So this is you can actually scan QR codes with the HubSpot mobile app. And this is a feature that helps HubSpot business cards makes it ideal in person network events. So you just put a QR code there, and then they scan it, and that information gets sent into HubSpot. To summarize, I think the things that are, there were a lot of things here, but the prospecting workspace, smarter sequences is important. It's divided into the multi-hub. You can create lists of deals. HubSpot can now track. Also, there are a few other things that have come up since then, and we'll share these with us as well. Is that now HubSpot can track LinkedIn carousel ads, email reply notifications on mobile, new email templates, customers that can roll in HubSpot payments. There are lots of changes that are happening even since last week. Obviously, the integration between LinkedIn, I haven't seen that yet and how that works, but between LinkedIn and Sales Navigator, I think that's going to be also one of the most powerful things, that partnership between LinkedIn and HubSpot now, so that you'll be able to actually import the data from Sales Navigator. I would look out to see how that we haven't started implementing that yet, but that for me is very important. Automatically associate calls with deals, adding deals to customer journey. We talked about new goal permissions. That's on the Sales Hub. And then on the Marketing Hub, the drag and drop version of the sidebar. I think that's something that's already new. Core conversions. See what else here is relevant if you guys are using NetSuite or Dynamics, and this changes as well. But I think one of the things, or for the last 2 minutes we have, main resources that I would go to is one, as I said, go here to the product updates, play around, set this up, make sure that if you're not sure about it, don't set this up for everyone, rather set this up for yourself, play around with it, and then you can decide if you want to set up the beta for the entire team. Take a look here always. This says, what is this? Why does it matter? How does it work? And who gets it? So this is really powerful on the right-hand side. And here, for example, the lead funnel that I talked about. So if you go in here, I can actually enroll this, as I said, just for me or for the entire account, and take a look here on the right-hand side, why you need it. HubSpot's gone into a lot of work to make sure that this is all clear. You can take a look, and this is where you get the most amount of information, I think. Looking at the new, and it doesn't only have to be inside the tool, but it also shows you the new things like leads and prospecting workplace already is in public beta, so that's already out for a lot of people. And then there's an overview, for example, probably explaining better than I did, of how this works. This is Jeff, who actually runs a product, and he's put a video together, so you can see this is a great resource to actually go in, and if wasn't clear what we were talking about today, to go into any of these new deal insights, anything that we talked about today, you want more information, this is the easiest way to get it inside your portal. And obviously to go into HubSpot/new, you'll be able to see the videos and so on and so forth. Okay, I now think we're running out of time. This is a new system for me, so I'm not 100% sure. I think I said I will put this in here for everyone. If there are any immediate questions, but we've recorded this, number one, and we'll share the deck that we put together for this too. But I would strongly go, as I said, to the right-hand side into product updates and play around with the new things. And try them out. Try them out in the sandbox if there's an issue, or try them out, as I said, in beta for yourselves, and try and map out maybe the new processes that you need to implement for your teams. Take a look, reach out if you need help. Any questions, you can send them to us as well, obviously. And next week we'll be having an interest going back to the HubSpot hacks. I'm actually have the pleasure to have Gabe from HubSpot, who's in charge of the marketing for the CMS, to talk about HubSpot landing pages, the blog, the CMS itself, and how to use personalization to get the most out of it. So that's something that anyone that has the Marketing Hub has it inside their platform. So he and I will be discussing on how to get the most out of that. And I think that's one of the features or strategies in HubSpot that allows you to personalize your content that is not actually utilized enough. And it's been around for quite a while and is already being improved. And so it's worth looking into that, especially on the marketing side. Thank you very much. And